Good evening. Not sure anybody's around, but that's okay. This is kind of a impromptu live stream. Sometimes I record, sometimes I go live, and it just depends what's going on, what I feel like doing. And today, as you can see by the thumbnail, we're going to talk about some new developments. But at the same time, there's something else I came across in looking at new developments that kind of intrigued me, and so I thought I would share that today. I'm just going to do a quick check on the live stream, make sure that that's happening, and it seems to be. So let's get started here. Let me get things on the screen that I want to do. Hey James, good to see you. We're going to talk about two things tonight, and one of them is current events, but the other is going to be, like I said, something I just came across while I was looking at current events. Sorry about the raspy voice. It happens because I don't talk much during the day. So let me get this off the screen. And the first passage I got up here is Revelation 22, 2 and 3. Let me just read that real quick. I don't know if that's large enough for you to see. But it says, this is the last chapter in the Bible, and the last chapter in Revelation, of course. And it's talking about the eternal state. So it's after the tribulation, after the millennium. And it says, in the middle of the city square, on either side of the river, was the tree of life, which produces fruit in each of the 12 months of the year. Its leaves are for the healing of the nations. And the curse will be no more. The throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city, and his slaves will offer him divine service. Now, what's the weird thing about that? Hey, Titan Long, good to see you. Is that it's for the healing of the nations. Now, this is, like I said, the eternal state. Everything's done. Everybody's either in heaven or survived not only the tribulation, but the millennium. And now that we're standing on the edge of eternity. Yeah, I'm fine. It's just my voice gets really raspy. Don't use it much during the day. And the problem is, who is this talking about that the leaves are for the healing of the nations, but also that the curse will be no more? So is it possible that this refers to mortals at the end of the millennium? Because nowhere does the scripture say that they get new spiritual bodies like the church does. And we can look here on 1 Corinthians 15:50 through 55, where Paul says, what I'm trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, is that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, and the mortal cannot inherit the immortal. Look, I'm telling you a secret. We will not all be laid to rest, but we will all be transformed in an instant, in the blink of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised immortal, and we will be transformed. This mortal, the dying, must be clothed with immortality. And when this happens, then the written word will be fulfilled. Death was swallowed up by conquest or victory. Death, where's your conquest? Death, where's your stinger? So how can this be? It also doesn't say that these people are resurrected. So we are resurrected. All of this passage, any passage about the rapture, is about the church. The church is resurrected. The church is transformed. It says, and the church is dead or living Christians. So we who are alive and remain are transformed. We have in another passage as well where we put this all together. And so the dead in Christ rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be transformed in an instant. And then we're all taken back to heaven to be with Jesus. And so this is just the church. It doesn't mention the righteous of all ages past. And so there are people who are righteous who died before the church age who aren't mentioned here. What about them? Did they get spiritual bodies? It doesn't say. So can it be that at the other end of this, after the church age, that we're also have people in the same situation. Hey, good Wendy, good to see you. And this is something I just never really looked at. But like I said, when I was looking at current events, I stumbled on this. And I'll tell you where I stumbled on it. These links are all in the description. But all of this would make sense in light of the Garden of Eden, where Genesis 3:22 said that Adam shouldn't have access to the tree of life. And I have that up here. It says, Lord God said, now that the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, he must not be allowed to stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So is it possible that because he was, Adam and Eve, of course, they wouldn't have died, death entered through sin. We know that from the New Testament. He wouldn't have died because he was eating from the tree of life, he and Eve. So isn't this the situation that will be the same after the millennium? What happens to the people who are physically mortal at the end of the millennium? Why do they need healing? Why do they need access to the tree of life, as it says in Revelation 22? And we could also look at Matthew 25, the big section I have here, 31 through 46. This is my version, so the terminology might be a little different. When the human comes in his majesty accompanied by all the angels, this is after Matthew 24, where he's talked about the tribulation. When the human comes in his majesty accompanied by all the angels, he will sit on his majestic throne. All the nations will be gathered in front of him, and he'll separate them as a shepherd separates sheep from goats. He'll put the sheep at his right, goats at his left. And he'll talk about, and I'm just going to skip through some of this, about people who did good or evil, that this is the separation, not on the basis of faith, but on how they treated, quote, the least of these, whoever you want to say these least of these are. And he says, to the righteous, come and enter enter the kingdom of my, blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you. And then to the goats, he will say, get away from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. And so we have all these passages, if we put together, because that's at the end of the tribulation, and then these mortals who are the sheep go into the millennium and repopulate the earth. There's no one else left mortal to do it. So they have to be mortal and righteous, and they're going to replenish the earth. They're going to repopulate. And then this thing about the unrighteous, the goats, if we go back to Revelation 22:15, it says outside of the city we were just talking about earlier, the New Jerusalem, in the eternal state, outside are the loathsome, the sorcerers, the promiscuous, the murderers, idolaters, everyone who loves and practices falsehood, outside of the city. And you would wonder, reading Revelation 22, who these are. Well, everybody's either in heaven or hell, aren't they? And who are these people outside the city? It makes sense when you put it all together that we're talking about the need for the tree of life in the city for those who must still be mortal. So the river of the water of the tree of life, and the months are marked not by the sun and moon because they don't exist anymore, but by the monthly change in the leaves on the tree of life. So it says not only, as I read before, it says produces fruit in each of the 12 months of the year. So there's your counting off the years and months. And the leaves are for healing of the nations. The therapeutic is the word, it's where we get the word therapeutic. The Greek word has to do with healing, but also sustaining life, preserving it in some way, like the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. Why wouldn't it be? It makes sense to me. And I mentioned I have in the description a link to someone called Ashley Hayes. I came across her video on X where she pointed out some things to do with this. And so if you want to go watch that, I think you should be able to, even though you're not in X. I think you can watch individual videos, and it's not very long. So I just thought that was interesting. It seems to put some things together. And I don't know, if you guys want to comment, or after the video, if you watch it again and see what you think of that idea. But watch her video too and see if that makes sense to you. Now, as far as current events goes, and I guess I might as well, let's see, I don't know if I didn't have the link ready for the news item. Let me go ahead and put that on the screen. Let me blow that up for you. I should have had that ready. Taking over the Gaza Strip. Now, if you're paying attention, what he says he's going to do and what winds up happening are two different things, because that's, to quote his book title, The Art of the Deal. You make an outrageous statement, and then people fall in line and do what you really wanted them to do in the first place. It's kind of a Hegelian dialectic sort of thing, too, when you think about it, because, like put troops on the border and then, I'm going to take over your country, and then not really do it because they put troops on the border. It could be the same thing with Gaza. Maybe. We don't know. And you'll recall in my last video, and I have a link for that in the description as well, the rise of the 10 kingdoms. Since then, it's been reported that there are also plans to deport everyone left in Gaza and rebuild it from the ground up, supposedly as something like a smart city, which is a very pretty prison, basically. But you can read this article and see what you think about taking over the Gaza Strip. But regardless of who does it or who actually owns the land, it's going to be cleansed of one group of people and replaced with another, it sounds like. And this Ashley Hayes is pointing out more of that end of things. I don't remember if she said something about the Revelation one or not. I'd have to watch it again. But she did say stuff about this, which is what got me started looking, and I came across that stuff about Revelation. But she points out the prophetic significance of this and raises the possibility that this could be the prelude to the Gog of Magog war of Ezekiel 38 and 39. So we can go back to my previous link, if I can just find it. There it is. Let's go to Ezekiel 38, prophecy against Gog. And he comes to invade a land of unwalled villages. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. He comes to invade a land of unwalled villages. Could it refer to this with Gaza? Could it refer to that? And could it be the catalyst for the Gog and Magog war? As I've always said, the war of Psalm 83 would lead to that invasion as well. So let's look at Psalm 83, which is an imprecatory prayer about enemies all around Israel. Now, if you look on the thumbnail that I had for this video, if I can just find it in my list of things, somewhere I had, there we go, that one. My eyes are so bad. I'm going to get some new glasses pretty soon. They'll tide me over. In 6 months, I'll have my cataracts checked again, see if they're bad enough to fix. But on here, I have a little bit of the map, if you can see behind the words here, of the 10 kingdoms and all of that. And then up in the upper left corner, faintly, you can see it says Ezekiel 38. And it's like concentric circles of Israel, and then around that, these people in Psalm 83. And then around that, the Gog of Magog war people, all the people involved. Let's see, Wendy says, saw something about rivers turning red recently. Yeah, I did see that too. It's happened before. just like blood moons happened before and eclipses happened before, I don't put prophetic significance on it because these things happen, the prophetic things happen at certain times after certain other things happen, and those things haven't happened. So anyway, the idea is, if I would put it all together, that if this stuff happens with Gaza, that this may trigger Psalm 83 if that is a future event, which I think it is. Some people say it is just an imprecatory prayer, but something has to trigger Gog to want to invade the land of Israel and have it be a land of unwalled villages. And this is not a change to my view. It's maybe adding additional detail to the steps leading up to the Gog invasion, because Ezekiel 38 and 39 is about them doing that invasion. Psalm 83 is what comes before that, but this Gaza thing may be what leads to Psalm 83. Why in the future they've always been enemies of Israel since 1948. And Israel's a tiny spit of land surrounded by all these Arabs, right? And Islamic lands. So what's the difference? Well, this thing may be the difference with the Gaza Strip. Maybe that triggers Psalm 83, and Psalm 83 triggers Ezekiel 38. So, because, this Gaza thing would certainly be seen as an act of war, and some of them had said it would be. So, the dominoes are lined up, is what I'm saying. We've got a possible trigger for the Psalm 83 war. So if Gaza happens, Psalm 83 probably happens, and then in the aftermath of that, when Israel will be victorious, we get Gog saying, these people feel secure. Whether they're at peace or not is debatable. The idea is security, not just peace, but feeling strong and secure in the land, which they would do if they had more land all of a sudden, which they would have not only after the Gaza issue, but also the Psalm 83 issue when all of those nations are wiped out. And this, in turn, would prompt Gog to invade. Now, somewhere in that steps or after those steps will be the 7-year treaty signed. So that's the only thing missing. I can't imagine that we need any more steps between those. That's just what I'm seeing right now. And I want to, even though this won't be a long live stream because I don't have that much material, as you can see, I've got here from Mark 13:29, the quote is, when you see all these things happening, you know that they're near right at the door. And so we're seeing some of these things happening. So I just think it's important to say this because we don't know how long the gap will be between the rapture and the signing of the treaty. But I should go and get my chart. Let me do that real quick that I've had up before. Go to downloads here, go to the tribulation. And I'm not showing you that on the screen because I forget about that sometimes. I'm going to shrink this window, try to shrink it a little bit, and shrink the map or the chart a little bit. There we go. So what we have here, again, I've gone over this many times, is the wrath of God will begin with seals. I've explained why before. And the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are false Christ, false messiahs, the Antichrist may arise at this time, but not be identified yet as the Antichrist, because we can't have that until he signs the agreement, which I don't think is signed until near the end of that 3.5 years. If it's at the beginning, then we know right away who this is, and he's been revealed. Either way, we're gone before this because it's the wrath of God. But the rapture is not the beginning of the tribulation. What begins that is the enforcement of a 7-year treaty with Israel and many, which may, again, make sense after the war of Psalm 83. and the Gog and Magog, Gog of Magog. It's that term is frequently misunderstood. Gog is the ruler and Magog is the land. And there are historical reasons, biblical reasons to think it's north, the uttermost parts of the north, and a whole coalition of nations that will be with them. So we at least have Turkey, probably Eastern Europe, and probably also up into the Caucasus Mountains, which should be the area of at least Eastern Russia. All that's debatable, and that's not the focus of this live stream. But what we have is the motivation for that. If you step back from what has to happen before other things have to happen, then we see that the sequence makes sense. So we've got the Gaza thing going on, which is no accident. We have the 10 nations forming while we watch. If Gaza happens, Psalm 83 happens, Gog happens. And all of that then, somewhere in there, is the enforcement of the 7-year treaty, which kicks off the 7-year tribulation. So, like I said, I just wanted to, like I did the 10 nations, the 10 kingdoms rising. This is a new development since then that enforces it all the more. There's all sorts of twists and turns on the way. As you know, this is how things go. And as I've always said before, as an analogy, when Israel was crossing the Red Sea on dry ground, they weren't all the way across when Pharaoh said, let's send the armies in after them and catch up to them. And God made their wheels of their chariots stick in the mud and all sorts of things go wrong to slow them down. And he can do that at any time with prophetic events. So, but the fact that we've seen the 10 kingdoms being openly talked about and not just hiding as some kind of economic block, but a kingdom obliterating national boundaries, followed so fast by this issue with Gaza. Prophecy's been speeding up for quite a while now, especially in the last 10 years, I would say, but now it's even faster. So keep your eyes peeled on the Middle East especially, but because there's always distraction. All the stuff going on in the U.S. right now, the 10 kingdoms can be happening at the same time of the stuff in the Middle East. And it's happening so fast, nobody can keep up. I mean, the news cycle itself, it's pointless to even look at the regular news pages because by the time they get a story up, it's already passed because social media is the new news media, for better or worse. You do have to use discernment, as always. I mean, even the alternative media can be misleading. There's always controlled opposition, and you don't always know who it is. But since I joined X, I've noticed how fast everything happens and how quick people are to pick up on things. So this is why we need to keep watching. I don't say you need to be on X, but pay attention and look up because it can't be much longer. Let me see if I can find my thumbnail again and put that up. Because we're seeing all these things. We're seeing the chess pieces move. You know, it's been a pawn here and maybe a knight there. Now we're seeing the rooks come out. And the queen is about to move. That's how involved in the game we are. So, once again, you know, your mileage may vary. This is how I see it happening. Check out that video by Ashley Hayes. And let me know what you think in the comments, either now or in the, under the video when it's done, about what I was saying about Revelation. Whoops. Yeah, is that where I wanted to go? Yeah, that is where I want to go, believe it or not. About the tree of life and the eternal state, that maybe there will be people like Adam and Eve, their state of being not mortal, but physical. Mortal, yes, if they didn't have access to the tree of life, which wouldn't happen until sin happened. I mean, that's what the Bible tells us, that death didn't enter till sin. And this prohibition that we saw in Genesis, let me go back to that this is telling us, I'm not showing you, I got to get that slide off screen again, that this is telling us that that's the reason Adam and Eve could just live perpetually, because of the tree of life. And then here we are in Revelation, the tree of life and the leaves are for the healing of the nations, for their sustaining forever in physical bodies. Whereas the church will have spiritual bodies. What about the righteous dead between Adam and Eve and Pentecost? Nothing is said. I mean, they were dead after all. These people who are for the healing of the nations have lived through the tribulation. Now, we know also from the prior chapter in Revelation that those who had been martyred during the tribulation, those who were beheaded for not taking the mark, that is, people in the second half during the bowl judgments, will reign with Christ for the 1,000 years, the millennium. So what kind of bodies are they in? The tree of life isn't on earth yet. I don't know if that matters at that point, but there's blanks we can't fill in. So we don't know about them, whether they'll have physical bodies and have access to the tree of life somehow, or whether the righteous dead before the church age will have that, whether they have spiritual bodies, I don't know. But it makes sense that at least the group of people who survive the millennium in their physical bodies will need to eat from the tree of life to live forever. I don't know a better scenario. Like I said, we still don't know about the righteous dead beforehand, what kind of bodies they'll be in. I don't think we need to know. But when we're trying to make sense of what we are reading in Scripture, where it talks about this need for the tree of life and the healing of the nations, the only thing that makes sense is the survivors of the millennium. So I don't know. You can tell me what you think. I don't know what else to think. So, yeah. Anything else that's going on that you guys would like me to talk about while I'm here? I can't think of anything else to say, like I said, other than keep looking up, get the gospel out, and keep doing, living your life like you're going to be here for your normal lifespan, but understanding that, of course, also there's a crown of righteousness for those who long for his appearing. Let me see if I can find that on the screen. Let me get this back off here. I'm finally remembering to do that sometimes, but crown of righteousness. And I think it's in Romans. No, it's in First Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. Oh, where is it, and why can't I find it? Sometimes I just word it different in my own translation. So, whoops. So let's see. Of righteousness. Yeah, 2 Timothy 4:8. I wonder if I had this here and I just didn't see it. Nope. Now I have to look it up here to find out how in the world I worded it. 2 Timothy, what did I say, 4:8? Yeah. The righteousness award. That's why I couldn't find it. Because that's what it is. To all who eagerly anticipate his sudden appearance. Sudden appearance. If it's the one at the end of the tribulation, it's not a sudden appearance, is it? It's very much expected and planned. You know when it's going to come. So it's not that one. So looking forward to Jesus coming suddenly at a time when he's not expected, as Jesus mentioned in Matthew 24, even that don't be caught beating your fellow servants, because he'll come at a time you do not expect him. Yep. We have a lot of stuff that happens, looking at the chat here for Luke 21:9. Yeah, we've had the earthquakes, and like I said, people do newspaper eschatology, and they look at every shiny thing that happens in the news. And the date setters, of course, are always wrong. Every one of them has been wrong so far. And they've learned in recent years to hedge their bets and string it out and say, well, sometime this year. That's their most recent one. There's one I really liked, the really well done videos, but not the dreams and visions type, but the calculating type Rock Island books. Nicely done videos. And I'm sure the guy is sincere. But he's recalculated and changed things several times, and he's gotten quieter recently. The last thing he said that I remember, I haven't checked for a while, was about, I expect it could happen this October 24, but certainly by October of 25. So that's a whole year. The calculations are very strained at this point, but I would be happy for him to be right for the wrong reasons, And as you can tell, finally when I'm done talking, my voice clears up. It was really awful when I started. I apologize for that, but nothing I can do about it. I just have to talk for a while. And I don't always know when I'm going to have a chance to live stream. So it is what it is. And anyway, I think both of these things are significant. The development in Gaza and how it affects the things leading up to the tribulation, and also this bit about the tree of life in Revelation, and who would need that. Let's see, your personal opinion is that, and I'm really squinting, sorry about that, is that we are all being given the opportunity to embrace and affirm our salvation in these times. People are having scales moved from their eyes. Yes, they are. If nothing else, again, on social media, I'm seeing people on both sides of the political spectrum, which we all know is the left and right wings of the same bird. But the people don't know that. And the people on both sides are finally going, watching all this happening too fast to react to, and finally going to each other's sides, you guys might have been right about something, which is significant. I mean, God is doing everything possible to shake people awake, to give them one last chance to respond to the gospel. So yeah, we need to do everything we can, even if starting with to pray for people to get saved, because even for selfish reasons, like the one we have on the screen here, or not that one, that's a different one. Let me look that up, about the full number of Gentiles. Let's see what to search. Number of, and that I think might be Romans. Yeah, Romans 11:25. Partial callousness or hardness has come upon Israel until the full number of believers from other nations, the Gentiles, has come in. Come into what? Come into the body of Christ. So there's a certain number of non-Jews that need to be saved, and all we can do is look at the signs of the times and tell whether we're close to that number, because we weren't told the number, and we don't know how close we are to it. If we knew the number, we're told. So you look at the signs of the times, and you look at how things match with actual Bible prophecy, as opposed to dreams, visions, and calculations, or newspaper eschatology, and you go, the 10 kingdoms are definitely, Israel and the homeland, I don't care how they got there or why, but they have to be there in unbelief for futurism to be true, and there they are. And as I've said before, after AD 70 until 1948 is when you have all these other theories cropping up about allegorizing these prophecies for Israel, because they obviously didn't happen, and then nobody thought they ever would, because Israel was dead and gone. And yet, there they are. And people will say, well, they're not real Israelites. I don't know or care, because God knows who are his. And we have an Old Testament prophecy, I forget exactly where it is, that says that 2/3 will be purged out and 1/3 will be left, and those will be the real ones. And that there will be people at the midpoint of the tribulation in Judea who see the abomination and finally have the scales drop from their eyes, and they run to the place of safety in the desert where they will be protected for a time times and half a time, 42 months, 3.5 years, 1,260 days, all the same amount of time during the bowl judgments, the second half of the 7 years. They will be kept safe in that place. And so there'll be 1/3 of whoever's Israel at the time. So everything is in alignment. They're there in unbelief in 48, and then they finally partially got Jerusalem, but they don't have the Temple Mount. Once Gaza happens, a lot of other things can happen. Things are happening that nobody thought would ever happen, have happened in the last month. So keep your eyes peeled. All I'm saying is this is happening so fast. The Gaza thing is very significant, as the 10 Kingdoms thing, with the North American Union. Expect more dominoes to fall in that regard. And I'm just intrigued by the idea of the people surviving the millennium in their mortal bodies, maybe the ones who need to eat from the tree of life, because it certainly won't be us. It won't be anyone who had died, at least as far as the body of Christ is concerned. Like I said, we don't know, we're not told about people before the church age who were righteous dead. And we're not told exactly what happens to martyrs during the tribulation, because they're outside of the church as well. But somebody's got to be eating these leaves of healing. And I can't imagine who it would be except for those who survived the millennium. So, yeah, it's a wake-up call for a lot of people we wouldn't have expected. A lot of people may be looking at things. There are a lot of distraught people, especially on the side who liked things the way they were. So if there's anybody who's been reluctant to even talk about it, this might be an opening. Just the things that are going on. And you could show them the video about the 10 Kingdoms. You could show them this one about Gaza. They can relate to those things. And it's an evangelistic opportunity at the very least. So anyway, we still go on doing what we can do, but understand how this is going. And Christian, good to see you. I'm about to sign off. I know nobody gets notifications. I don't know what to do about that. It's YouTube. What can you do? And hopefully you can, when we're closing out here, you can go back and watch. There hasn't been a lot of comments, but you can quickly scan them now. They will be on the recording as well. Eventually, it's been taken at least like 24 hours for the video to be downloadable or to show the live chat. I don't know what's going on. AI is very clunky, if you ask me, if that's who's responsible for that sort of thing, which probably is. But there's no doubt in my mind that this is all prophetic, what's going on right now, because we put prophecy first, Bible first, and then see what lines up. And just signs in the sky or earthquakes and things like that doesn't cut it. They have to happen at certain times in prophecy. And there's some that happen before the day of the Lord, some that happen after that are described in very similar terms, like the sun, moon, and stars having things happen to them. Hey, Aaron, good to see you. Even when I want to look for something I said in a video and I play it back, I can't listen to me at normal speed. I have to do at least 1.5 speed. So because I just don't talk fast enough live, I guess. I don't know. But as I was just saying, I don't know if you've been listening before, my voice was really raspy when I started, but it cleared up. So here we are in history where our staring down the edge of the canyon of the wrath of God about to kick off. And this is motivation for us to spread the gospel, not to say, ha ha, you losers, you didn't make it, and we're going to get out of here. That's the bad attitude. And I would question if somebody is saved if they say such a thing. I mean, a lot of people in social media who talk like that, who think that this is some kind of contest to have better theology than all the other Christians. But and then there's preterism, all sorts of things, and mid and post-trib and all that. And I don't know how that's sustainable when we're watching these things happen, not any of that. But, salvation is by faith. We have to remember that it's only by faith in the risen Jesus. People can believe irrational things along with that, contradictory things along with that. But if they truly believe that, then they're saved and they're going to be raptured whether they like it or not. So that's just how it is. But it's good to see you guys. It's too bad that everybody's, so scattered and we can't have chats like this just any time, because not everybody wants to be in social media, and a lot of these apps are spying on you anyway. And so, I mean, here we are on YouTube in public, but let's see. Okay. Yeah. Good to see you, James, and everybody else. And I probably will sign off, but yeah, give a think about those two items that we went over today and see what you think about it, and take advantage of the times and people head spinning for how fast things are changing. And because it isn't just the U.S. I mean, what we do affects everybody else, which is why I said that as soon as this North American Union actually happens, instead of just the art of the deal, you know what I mean? The dominoes will fall. I think they will fall very fast. Because what we're seeing is what we're meant to see. And there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, and we know how things are scripted. And so at the time, at least in the U.S., we have a moment to breathe. Some good things are happening. People in the affected areas like Western North Carolina and the other places that have had disasters are getting some help finally. I'm sure they appreciate, for whatever else is going on, they appreciate the moment we're having, the eye of the storm. And we should take advantage of it too, to say, not only try to make some sense of what's happening to people who are confused, but also to warn them about what's going to fill the vacuum, because things are never the way they seem. So, yeah, I'm sorry I anymore when I do live streams, I don't plan ahead for them. I just have an opportunity and take advantage of it when I can. And usually this time of day is working better for me than during the day. That's just how, life is these days. So anyway, hoping next time we'll either be in heaven or I will have glasses that will work for a while until I can get my cataracts worked on. I would rather be out of here before I have to have any kind of treatments or surgeries. I'm sure other people would glad to be out of here too, but that's why we need to take advantage of the opportunity for evangelism. So that's all I got. And yeah, I grow tired. I know some of you know where I hang out during the morning, at least morning here in the Eastern time zone. I'm barely there in the chat because it's so discouraging the way people act. And their priorities are so different from mine. I don't feel at home there that much anymore. And, that I've spent more time on X these days, even though there's not community there, I have chances to throw seeds around that I don't normally have. And I really don't like being a moderator at the other channels where I'm a moderator. Because you get so many nasty trolls and drama all the time. So I'm just kind of there just to say hi to people, and I don't do live streams that often to see you. So that's where it is right now, and we'll see if anything else changes that I feel a pressing need to do a video about. I will. But But yeah, everybody be steadfast. That's good. And I'm sure we all have issues that we're dealing with along there with that. And thank you for the blessings. Everybody pray for everybody. And hopefully I'll, won't need the eye surgery eventually. It'll be at least 6 months before I can get checked again anyway. So in the meantime, I'm pretty blind, and I hope the new glasses I get, hopefully like next week, will help in the meantime. But that's another reason I don't do much anymore. It's so hard to read. Everything's a blur. But let me put the thumbnail back on there. So you don't need to stare at that white screen. And yeah, we'll see you guys elsewhere. I am on X. If you need to find me there, I'm there. You can always comment under a video or on my community page, whatever the most recent thing. Every once in a while, I'll post something there. Let me just see if I can find where that is on my channel. Yeah, it's under posts. If you go to my channel and go to posts, you can comment under those. And I post little things there every once in a while. Yeah, I'm glad this could be of help. I'm trying to read your text. Peace and abundance. Yeah, you're very welcome. Everybody take care. And I'm going to put the slide back up just before we end. And we'll see you guys somewhere soon. Thanks for watching.